Scarlet, it seems things are getting serious this time. We're trading a thatched hut for a stone house right in the center of town, the best spot in the civilian area, while we're out here on the remote edges, Atticus said with a sense of concern for his brother. Sawyer, caught between annoyance and amusement, didn't know whether to dance with joy or stand frozen in confusion. I swear you're looking for trouble every 3 days, Sawyer said as he pulled Atticus into the house, adding, "We can barely support ourselves. Let's not bring Scarlet into our mess." Later, they discovered something under the table: 2 potatoes and a bottle of anti-inflammatory medicine. This reminded Sawyer of the previous year when he had been severely injured by a wolf pack and had mysteriously received some medication that saved his life. The medicine had been placed in the exact same spot as today, and only Scarlet knew of his injury this time. Atticus also confirmed that he hadn't told anyone else about the injury. In that moment, Sawyer felt a deep appreciation for Scarlet. Suddenly, they heard her shouting next door. A man was trying to trade a cigarette with her, but she refused, saying she wouldn't engage in such dealings anymore. The man, undeterred, attempted to get physical. Hearing the commotion, Sawyer, fueled by rage, gripped his bone knife and dashed towards Scarlet's room. As he saw the man becoming uncontrollably angry, Sawyer drew his knife and charged. The thug, initially surprised, relaxed upon seeing Sawyer's ancient knife, mocking, "Ah, kid, this is a real iron weapon you're up against." But his arrogance lasted only a moment. With one swift strike, his knife broke. Astonished, he stared at his broken weapon, his face contorted with dissatisfaction. Before he could recover, Sawyer threw down his bone knife, grabbed the man's arm, and delivered a powerful punch to his chest, followed by smashing his head against the ground, creating a small crater. The thug trembled in pain, unable to believe the strength of the young man. Scarlet was equally stunned by Sawyer's prowess. Holding down the thug, Sawyer asked Scarlet about him. She revealed that he was a foreman at a coal mine, and that he had stabbed someone to death the previous night over a debt after hearing that the person habitually carried cash. Recognizing the man's evil nature, Sawyer was ready to end him when a mission notification pinged. "Spare your enemy." He fiercely slashed the thug's belly instead. Coldly, Sawyer said, "You have about 3 minutes to get to the clinic in town for stitches if you want to survive." The thug, not daring to speak further, painfully staggered away. Puzzled, Atticus asked, "Why not eliminate the threat completely? What if he comes back for revenge after he heals?" Sawyer shook his head. Do you really think our town's shabby clinic can fix him up properly?" Relieved, Atticus exhaled deeply, realizing his brother was far more ruthless. Meanwhile, Scarlet stood with her arms crossed, looking somewhat helpless. Turning to her, Sawyer asked, "Can you quit smoking?" Immediately, she nodded vigorously, promising she could. Seeing her reaction, Sawyer struck a pose, arrogantly saying, "I know I'm handsome." But before he could finish, Scarlet, initially confused, threw cold water on his self-admiration. "I only see you as a brother." Perhaps Scarlet genuinely saw them as younger brothers, or perhaps she felt unworthy of Sawyer, preemptively shutting down any further discussion, leaving Sawyer embarrassingly speechless by day. Sawyer, scratching his head and clicking his fingers, suddenly grabbed Atticus and pulled him back into the room. "Was it you rambling on that made me go to such lengths?" he asked, half amused. Watching the comical duo, Scarlet couldn't help but burst out laughing, finding a sense of home in their antics. In the midst of the laughter, Sawyer's mind seemed to churn like a printer, soon spitting out a slip of paper. The task had begun, and it was an odd one, to receive 100 sincere thanks. Frowning at the task, Sawyer pondered how to achieve it when he noticed his brother Atticus quietly doing his homework. Leaping over, Sawyer urged, "Can you quickly say thank you to me?" Atticus looked bewildered. "Are you okay, brother?" "I'm getting scared here," he replied, to which Sawyer slapped him lightly. "Stop the nonsense and just say it." After a moment, Atticus emotionally said, "Thank you for always looking after me." A ding from the system indicated a sincere thank from Atticus. Realizing the simplicity of the task, Sawyer grinned and encouraged, "Say it a few more times. Thank you." Though Atticus was speechless, he complied, repeating his thanks. However, this time it didn't work. Sawyer, checking around, pointed at Atticus. "Your heart wasn't in it. You need to mean it, understand? Try again." Despite repeated attempts, no additional thanks were registered, and Atticus nearly reached his breaking point, unacquainted with such demands. "Yes, that excited expression. Try one more time." They tried all night, but without success, leaving Atticus exhausted, sprawled across the table. "Is this all you're capable of?" "It's quite the strain," Atticus complained. Sawyer had no answer. It seemed even Kafka couldn't help this time. He then returned to the dream realm to see what a thank you could exchange for, sacrificing 2 coins from the table. It turned out each sincere thank could be traded for a coin. Curiously, as he inserted a coin into a newly appeared machine, a bottle labeled only as medicine dropped out. About to complain, a buzz and a dizzy spell hit him, and he found himself back in reality, holding the bottle. Deciding to take a chance, Sawyer applied the cream to his injured hand, immediately regretting it, fearing it might be poison. But to his surprise, the pain vanished. Elated, he realized this small ointment worked instantly, unlike the 3-day course of anti-inflammatory pills usually required. "If I sell this, could I make a fortune?" he thought, contemplating earning more thanks. The next day, as Sawyer started teaching, he looked at his students and sparked an idea. "Do you think teaching is hard?" he asked. "You sit while teachers stand. Shouldn't you thank your teachers?" The students, obliging, agreed. "From now on, instead of greeting me with hello, just say thank you, teacher," Sawyer suggested. With a wave of his hand, he said, "Let's practice, class." The students stood and thanked him, but to his disappointment, not a single coin was received. None of their thanks were sincere. Resigning to patience, he began lecturing on wilderness survival, but the topic was so dull that the students nearly fell asleep. Oblivious, Sawyer continued until a student raised a hand. "Teacher, it's getting dark and it will be unsafe in town." Realizing the time, Sawyer waved his hand. "All right, dismissed.